Do your players ever metagame? Ever wanted some techniques for handling metagaming? Then stay tuned for today's episode. Hello and welcome to RPG PhD. I'm Dr. Ben, and today we will discuss metagaming and some strategies for addressing it at your table. First, what is metagaming? Metagaming is a term used to refer to the use of external knowledge or strategies to gain an advantage in the game that would not be available to a player's character within the game's world. This can include using information from outside the game or making decisions based on knowledge that the player's character would not realistically possess within the game's narrative. I think what's interesting about metagaming is it's another example of the role player's paradox. I break this idea down in my video, It's What My Character Would Do, linked here. Basically, a role-playing paradox is when two things are happening that are apparently contradictory. Like playing a character, but also being part of a cooperative storytelling game. Or, in this case, being a player with a certain amount of information and playing a character with a different set of knowledge and information. In other words, you as a player have all the knowledge of player and character, while in the fictional reality of the game, your character only has a subset of your knowledge. We see this play out often during the rehearsal process for theater. The actor playing Hamlet knows who killed his father and who's going to die at the end because they've read the play. But the character of Hamlet doesn't know any of these things. Sometimes an actor will play a scene unintentionally in a way that mixes their knowledge as an actor and as a character. The same sort of thing can happen in role-playing games. It isn't usually having foreknowledge about what's going to occur, although it could be, but it's about possessing knowledge that your character doesn't have. Like the fact that a creature is vulnerable to fire, or how many hit points a goblin has. It can sometimes be a real challenge to separate what you know from what your character knows. Actors use a variety of techniques to help them separate their personal knowledge from their character's knowledge. One technique commonly used is called staying in the moment or living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. This involves the actor staying present in the scene, reacting truthfully to the given circumstances and the other characters, and avoiding thinking ahead or anticipating future plot developments. Or, to put it another way, they're reacting only to what is occurring in that moment and not thinking ahead to what will happen in the next scene, even though they already know. This, I think, is a key for helping to minimize metagaming for players. Getting into character and staying in character, not dropping in and out during combat or strategic moments, but focusing on living in the moment as their character. If I am a character and immersed in it, living believably under imaginary circumstances, it would seem strange for my character to say something like hit points or ability scores, as my character has no understanding of what those are. When players are in character and stay in character, it becomes harder to have out-of-character moments and ultimately to metagame. Another technique actors utilize is to use sense memory and emotional recall to connect with their characters' experiences and feelings. By focusing on their own sensory experiences and emotional memories, the actor can better understand and empathize with their character's perspective, while keeping their personal knowledge and experiences separate. I think the application for role-playing is to think about what your character has experienced in the past, taking into account both your backstory and what you experienced as a character in previous adventures. If you were almost killed by a dragon in a preceding adventure, you would probably approach any future encounters with a dragon in a different way as a character because of how that affected the character emotionally or experientially. This allows your character to focus on their experience in the moment. If your character is in another fight with a dragon, there would be adrenaline-fueled anxiety and maybe even apprehension, a feeling of fear or dread or struggle for survival. Alternately, your character may have been scarred by the experience and they want revenge, and instead of approaching the encounter carefully, they rush in recklessly, unleashing their anger. Staying focused on what your character is experiencing in the moment based on their past can help keep you in character and decrease the likelihood of metagaming. Actors may also work with the director or acting coach to help them navigate moments where their personal knowledge conflicts with their character's knowledge. For example, if an actor's character is supposed to be surprised by a plot twist, but the actor already knows the twist, the director may work with the actor to find ways to still authentically portray the character's surprise without relying on personal knowledge. This is similar to the GM-player relationship, helping the players understand when they are metagaming and helping them as characters to figure out what their characters would know or do under those particular circumstances. In some cases, actors may also choose to avoid learning certain plot details in advance in order to maintain the integrity of their character's journey and experiences. This can involve intentionally not reading certain script pages or avoiding spoilers. If your GM or DM is running an adventure module, you may want to avoid those as a player, or if you encounter a creature in a game, resist the temptation to go and look up its stats and abilities, and instead experience the creature in real time, learning about it as your character does. Overall, separating personal knowledge from character knowledge is an important part of an actor's craft and a role player's craft, and requires a combination of technique, collaboration, and creative problem solving. I understand that acting for other media is not the same as a role-playing game, and that there are a wide variety of play styles that don't even incorporate any acting at all. I am also not suggesting some sort of hashtag you can never break character mentality surrounding staying in character. I'm just trying to bring some of the useful techniques that actors use to separate player and character knowledge. If your players are not huge role players and don't want to go deeper into the acting aspect of the game, then there are other ways of addressing metagaming other than encouraging role-playing and in-character decision-making to minimize the need for metagaming. The first is Session Zero discussion. Set clear boundaries and expectations for what types of information are considered in character and out of character, and what the expectations you have at your table. Clearly define the line between player knowledge and character knowledge at the beginning of the game and remind players of this boundary if necessary. Incorporate surprises and plot twists to keep players on their toes and discourage them from relying too heavily on out-of-character knowledge. If I think my players know where the plot is going or they think they know what's going to happen, I make certain that they are instead surprised. Subverting expectations is a great way of turning player knowledge on its head. Use custom creatures to keep players on their toes and prevent them from relying too heavily on meta-knowledge. Or you can make all game stats of creatures and NPCs a mystery and a secret from the players. Some of you may do this already. If characters want to know something about a particular creature, you can allow a knowledge check. And based on the roll, you can tell them what they know, and if they fail badly enough, then maybe they have the wrong information. In a game I was running once, I had the characters on a makeshift raft clinging to life in the middle of an ocean after their ship went down. After a few hours, these giant eels started swarming around them, and I called for a difficult knowledge check that they all failed. So what they knew was that making lots of noise would scare all the eels away, but unfortunately noise is what attracted them. For me, a badly failed check is often not just you don't know, but a you know something, but what you know is wrong. You know, the way it used to be before the internet, and like it is now after the internet. Provide plenty of opportunities for players to learn information in-game through exploration, investigation, and interactions with NPCs. So if you want the characters to know something, then you as a GM need to make sure players have the opportunity to learn about it and to know about it and not to rely on player knowledge. You can see this works both ways. Sometimes GMs can rely on players' knowledge to get them through a puzzle or encounter because they have not provided enough in-game clues or information for the characters to realistically solve or overcome an encounter without using player knowledge. So make sure the characters have the opportunities to have the knowledge they need to succeed if that is the goal. Remove balance from consideration. If the players always expect you to provide balanced encounters where they are guaranteed to succeed and now know that you would never give them something they can't handle, then occasionally give them something they can't overcome. A situation where they need to run or tactically retreat, for example, that way players don't know going into an encounter if it's overcomable. This adds tension and causes players to approach encounters with more care, just like their actual characters probably would. Enforce line of sight and time constraints. Players often make decisions based on what they see on a strategic map, but from their characters' on-the-ground perspective, they may not have access to the same visual information as a player, nor the benefit of a bird's-eye view of the map and creatures. Characters within combat rounds only have a few seconds to act and often don't have time to take 10 minutes to plan out their strategy or coordinate with other players in very intricate ways during a combat encounter. They could certainly yell, "Look out!" or "Kill the magic user!" But stopping in the middle of an intense combat to coordinate an intricate attack plan can also feel metagaming. Of course, for many players, using the strategic map for some role-playing games is the game and how many play. So again, this is really dependent on your group's play style. Enforce character abilities. Playing a brilliant character is not the same as playing a character of average intelligence. Ability scores should matter. Not all characters are strategically minded or masters of strategy and tactics. And even brilliant characters don't know everything. If you feel a character should or should not know something, then call for a roll to decide. There could be reasons for a character to know something within the fiction based on their profession, backstory, species, or class. But those could also be factors into why a character doesn't know something. There's also common knowledge that most characters probably know, and then specialized knowledge of the fictional world that only specialists would know. Finally, talk to players during the game to remind them that they are metagaming, and if it persists, then pull them aside privately and explain how metagaming affects the gameplay experience for everyone at the table. I hope you enjoyed this video on metagaming. Please share your thoughts about how you deal with metagaming at your table in the comments below. I love hearing from you. If you find this content valuable, then please hit those like and subscribe buttons. It is much appreciated. Thanks for watching. See you next time.